Counselor David G. Romero.
Here.
Counselor Barbara Casey.
Here.
Counselor Vincent Howell.
Here.
Counselor David A. Ulibarri Jr.
Here.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilor Romero, would you do the moment of silence, please?
Just a moment of silence for all those in our community that have passed within the last month. And also a prayer for the council and all government employees and workers that we continue to do best in what's in the best interest of our community and that we stay safe and we all work for the right reasons.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam Mayor,
Councilor Casey.
I move approval of the agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Howell.
Yes.
Counselor Romero.
Yes.
Counselor Casey.
Yes.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey and a second by Counselor Ulibarri Jr. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes for May the 8th, which is the work session, May 15th, regular session, May 22nd, and May 22nd, 2019 budget hearing.
Have they been amended?
Madam Mayor,
Councilor Casey.
I read them. They are perfect.
Okay, good. We're good.
So I move approval.
Okay,
Thank
do you have a
you.
second?
Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.
Yes.
Counselor Casey.
Yes.
Counselor Romero.
Yes.
Counselor Howell.
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey and a second by Counselor Howell. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next item is mayor's appointments and reports.
I have none at this point in time. I do have some, but I think that we've lost some time, so if I can report that hopefully next month.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The next item is mayor's recognitions and proclamations.
I do have recognitions, and the first recognition I have is Mr. Miguel Coca. So let's get him up here. Could you please read into the record?
Recognition, whereas Miguel Coca, son of Gilbert and Karen Coca of Montezuma, New Mexico, helped Iowa Central Community College capture a national championship in men's track and field as a freshman and now holds the prestigious honor of All-American. And whereas Miguel Coca chose Iowa Central Community College due to its competitiveness on the national stage, and whereas Miguel Coca earned honorable mention at the National Junior College Athletic Association Regional Cross Country Meet in Davenport, Iowa, and whereas Miguel Coca followed his older brother Moises into distance running and developed into a star at West Las Vegas High School, and won individual state championships in both cross country and track. And now therefore be it resolved by I, Mayor Tonita Gula Giron, Mayor of the City of Las Vegas, along with members of the governing body, hereby recognize Miguel Coca for his dedication to the sport of track and field and for representing Las Vegas and the state of New Mexico.
Thank you very much. Again, we're very, very proud of you. And also, there's a representing the city of Las Vegas, and we are so in awe of your future and your career and your family. You've established a legacy. It's really incredible last week, which is amazing. But I also want to say that the athleticism starts all the way down to the mom and dad, who actually Karen used to pitch for us, and we go to a lot of big tournaments, and she got us out of a lot of tournaments, and we won a lot of tournaments, and we're pretty good, yeah, we're good. So I want to congratulate you for all that you're doing. Keep up the great work. Stay focused, get that education. Track and field is wonderful. It'd be wonderful if I see you in the Olympics.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Shooting for that.
Absolutely. You keep working at it, okay? Thank you. We're so fortunate to have you here in the state of Las Vegas.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Keep on representing.
Absolutely. God bless you. I guess you have some- Okay, good. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Looking forward to your
Watch your head.
Congratulations. We're proud of you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you again.
Congratulations.
And thank you.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, the next one was recognitions and proclamations, and we have we are recognizing Las Vegas Robertson baseball roster. I don't believe we have any members.
I believe that they, we had talked to them and they said, I don't know, last time I spoke to them, check out there, that they couldn't make it, not all of them anyways, so most of them were gone for the summer. So what I'd like for you to do is recognize, read the proclamation, and then read all the names into the record. Or in case the parents want a copy of the record, in addition to the certificate, we have that.
Oh,
Okay?
wait, I believe Robertson is here.
Robertson is here?
Yes.
Awesome. Bring him in. Oh, thank you, Keith. They're all here. They're gonna make it around because we're in the West Village. Okay. We'll get down there.
Is it baseball lips?
Call you.
It was so few minutes.
Okay, go ahead and read the recognition.
Certificate of recognition to the Robertson High School Cardinals baseball team for winning the 2019 3A state championship, presented to Brandon Lucero,
Is Brandon Sarah here? No.
Antonio Cordova, Austin King, Antonio Padilla,
Antonio Padilla?
Antonio Padilla.
Okay, Antonio Padilla.
Jason Gold,
Congratulations.
Caleb Marujo, Steven Lovato, Steven Pedro,
He's playing against Princeton.
Not here? Or is he coming?
No, he's playing games.
Okay, gotcha. I get that.
Isaiah Ortiz, Kenneth Archuleta, Derek Montano, Lance Romero, Ace Gonzalez,
That's a good name.
Martin Vigil, Coach Leroy Gonzalez, Coach Joel Silva, Coach Kenneth Sandoval, Coach Chris Nahad, Coach Jared Marquez, Coach Joshua Romero,
She's not here today.
Coach Leroy Gonzalez,
Oh, this is good.
Okay, thank you.
Antonio Padilla,
I want to congratulate, please come over here so we can take photo pics and stuff, just a little bit. And those of you who need, get on the top.
Just watch your head.
Can we all see it? The council, please stand up. Thank you. Just a tad bit taller. Now, I want to congratulate each and every one of you, Robertson High School, for doing an outstanding job. This is nothing new. You have a legacy already established for championships in football and baseball, track and field, tennis. I mean, Robertson's doing a great job for the city, for the students. And you guys are all so fortunate to have such good coaches, such an incredible support system. At the school level, we are very, very proud of you. We're going to commend you. Keep up the good work. Take this with you for the rest of your career. This, your education, and whatever you decide to excel and find your niche. Good luck. God bless you. Stay safe. Thank you very much. Well, thank the council, I'm sorry. Would you guys please come, Mr. Nahat, would you come in, please, thank you.
Like that, huh? Did well?
Definitely the son of his dad.
Cuídate, linda. God bless you. Should be your softball pitcher. Honey, too?
The next team is the West Las Vegas Dons baseball team for 2019.
Okay, and did they show up?
I see some rain out there, but I don't know.
Yeah, let's check it out before we say no.
Yes. Okay.
Just for in case.
We're the wrong color.
No, they all know each other. Nothing? Okay, what I want you to do on the recognitions is one, read the certificate, and then read the names of each individual athlete into the record. Thank you so much.
Certificate of recognition to the West Las Vegas Dons baseball team for 2019 3A State Championship runner-up. Antonio Bustamante, Marco Solano, Sammy Hill, Jaden Perea, James Archuleta, Esteban Gonzalez, Elijah Alarcon, Joaquin Perea, Pablo Leiva, Josiah Baca, Omar Gallardo, Emilio Gonzalez, Andres Vilabri, Jaden Herrera, Roy Pacheco Jr., Manager Roy Pacheco, Assistant Coach Robert Alarcon, Assistant Coach Salvador Archuleta, Assistant Coach Kimberly Barros, and Athletic Director Valerie Lopez.
Thank you very much. And again, we want to recognize the West Las Vegas High School baseball team for their incredible achievements. If you see them out there, please congratulate them as well. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next item is public input, and we have Robert Pearson, Refuge Day.
Good evening. How are you?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. My name is Robert Pearson. Tomorrow is World Refugee Day, and one of the things I want to do is to remind you of the resolution that you passed unanimously in January 2018, for which we have great gratitude. We are not here to ask anything of you this time, but simply to update you on the situation with refugees and to talk a bit about asylum seekers, about which we hear a great deal, to tell you, to give you some information about that and some of the things that are being done in Las Vegas in support of the asylum seekers and for education. The number of refugees which are allowed to enter the country, the upper limit is set for each fiscal year by the President. In 2017, near the end of his term of office, President Obama set an upper limit of 110,000 refugees to be resettled in the United States. When President Trump came into office, he lowered that to 50,000. The year after that, he lowered it again to 45,000. That was the lowest in history since the inception of the refugee resettlement program in 1980. For the present year, he has lowered it further to 30,000. Now, in 2018, there was a cap of 45,000, but only half that number were actually admitted to the United States because of additional restrictions and policies. In the resolution that you passed, you affirmed support for the plight for the refugees, which in all cases were living under terrible conditions, having fled their country. You talked about, the resolution talked about commending the cities in Las Vegas that were able to resettle refugees and urged a greater national effort. Well, that greater national effort clearly has not yet happened. With about 20-some thousand refugees being allowed into the United States in 2018, there are over 20 million refugees worldwide living in terrible conditions in most cases, hoping for resettlement in another country because they can't go back to their own country. So what the United States did was to take 1 out of 1,000 of those refugees, or 0.1%. That is not very many for this country. I saw data for the number of asylum seekers and refugees together per 1,000 population of many, many countries. The United States ranks 19th. Sweden has 10 times as many
4 minutes.
as the United States, and Lebanon has 50 times as many. The United States used to have a good record of accepting refugees. It no longer does. We can and must do much better. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next person is Ms. Carol Pearson.
Good evening, Ms. Pearson.
Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and councillors. I stand here just to remind you of that glorious time when this room was full of people supporting the refugee resolution that you passed, as Bob said, unanimously. That was in January 2018. We were so thrilled, having worked with Madam Mayor, that worked so well. That resolution expressed solidarity
for people in the councils of particularly Albuquerque and particularly Santa Fe, who were working on trying to resettle refugees. And they were helped enormously in that by Catholic Charities and by Lutheran Family Services, who all worked together. That work continues, but on, as Bob said, on a very much smaller scale than we'd hoped for. You know the difference, you'll remember the differences between people designated refugee and those designated asylees, although they're all fleeing terror in their own countries and fear for their lives. Refugees are here vetted at least 2 years prior to by both the UN and the US authorities before they ever set foot in the United States. Asylum seekers, on the other hand, as we know, cross the borders to begin that long process of applying for asylum status and being allowed to live here legally. Our friend Margaret is going to talk to you a little bit about asylum seekers. Everybody is seeking safety, which they hope to find here in the United States. But now we're at a situation when not even those who have been vetted for 2 years are home free. Bob has a picture of a refugee family from Lebanon, which I'd like you to pass around to you.
I'll give it to the clerk.
From Syria. The refugees are from Syria, and they've been approved. They've gone through the 2 years of vetting by the United States and the UN.
3 minutes.
A long time ago, in 16. They were halted by the president's Muslim ban. That family that you can see there made the president shake in fear. They are waiting still in Lebanon for permission to come to the United States. This is the Amari family. When you hear the rhetoric of fear dished out to us by our well-heeled government officials, think of the Amari family and many others. Remember them and think of what we are doing. Margaret is going to talk to you about asylum seekers particularly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have Miss Margaret Villanueva.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good evening. Yes, I'd like to say a little bit about what's going on at the New Mexico border, as we know, and other borders such as Texas, California, Arizona, and clarify again, which I hope everyone in this room knows, that asylum seekers have a legal status, that they are not somehow illegal immigrants into the United States, but they have a right to come here. I'll just read a brief description. Turn this way. Asylum is a legal process by which people fleeing persecution in their home country may seek to live in safety in the United States. International treaties and federal law require the government to evaluate a claim for asylum from anyone who enters the United States, whether that person arrives legally through a port of entry or illegally by crossing the border and being apprehended. So the other thing I want to mention is that here in New Mexico, there's much assistance to the asylum seekers going on, but you probably know that many families and children are being separated from families, and many families are crossing the border, which is a fairly new phenomenon. So here in New Mexico, there are the same groups that have helped refugees in the past are very busy working with asylum seekers, particularly in Albuquerque, Las Vegas, Las Cruces, Deming are some of the places in New Mexico where there are many people being sheltered, not by those kind of private for-profit camps that you hear about in Florida and elsewhere, but by organizations such as Catholic Charities, Lutheran Social Services, Interfaith Network, Interfaith Alliance in Albuquerque. Some of us from Las Vegas, a number of people from Las Vegas have been meeting at a temporary task force to see what people of Las Vegas can do to assist, although Santa Fe and Las Vegas, being this far north, are not as in direct contact with the asylum seeker families themselves. But we have gone, several of us have gone to Albuquerque for trainings on how to be volunteers. Also in Santa Fe, there's much possibility of volunteering for working with legal services, and also for one of the things we've done recently is to go to help sort clothing, donated clothing into packages for the families that are being helped helped with housing, temporary housing, just for 24 to 72 hours. Those people who already have sponsors but are coming through Albuquerque and then having to go on a bus or a plane to go to get together with family members once they have been already through the initial asylum seeking process. Anyone who's seeking asylum has 1 year to do so. But
3 minutes.
as we've heard pretty much recently, the process is going faster, and so many people don't know where to go. They're just kind of lost. They come here sometimes without even speaking Spanish. There are people coming from Guatemala who don't speak Spanish because they're native Mayan people.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. That concludes public input forum. The next item on the agenda is presentations, and we have presentation by Utilities Director Maria Coveri on the 2018 Water Consumer Confidence Report.
Good
evening, Mayor.
How are you?
Council, Madam Manager. I'm here today to give a presentation on our CCR, Consumer Confidence Report. I'd like to start off with the City of Las Vegas. The evaluation from our CCR, the City of Las Vegas meets all EPA water quality standards. There were no violations or action level or MCL exceedances of regulated contaminants. So a little bit of history. In 1974, the Safe Drinking Water Act was passed by Congress. It was passed to protect surface and groundwater sources in the United States. The Safe Drinking Water Act authorizes the EPA to establish standards, minimum standards that everybody who runs a water system must follow. The intent is to comply with primary health-related standards. In 1996, there was an amendment that required the EPA to consider the risk as well as a cost assessment when making any requirements on municipalities or public water systems. This included the CCR, the Consumer Confidence Report. So in 1998, the final rule was promulgated, and 40 CFR 141 subpart O was put into law, and that is what guides currently our CCR requirements. And again, the purpose of the CCR is to be able to provide a brief summary of our water quality, specific to, in our case, the City of Las Vegas. It's going to summarize information that regarding our source water, any potential contaminants, compliance, as well as educational information. The CCR is also an opportunity for myself, the city, our public water system, to be able to communicate with our customers any information that we have on our water system, to be able to raise awareness about the source of the water, as well as all state and federal drinking water standards. The process is towards the end of the year, usually about February or March. We review the previous year's sampling data. It's been compiled. We do different samples. Sometimes it's weekly, monthly, quarterly. It's all compiled on the Drinking Water Watch website. we take from the previous year, we recompile it and put it into a form that the Environment Department provides for us. At that point, once we've compiled it, we submit it to the Environment Department for their review, and they'll balance it against what they know and make sure that the information that we're putting into our CCR is accurate. Once that's done by April 1st, we are required to provide it to any of the public water systems that use city's water for their public water systems. In this case, the World College and the El Creston Mutual Domestic. Both of those have their own public water system numbers, so we're required to give our information to them so that they can do their own CCRs. Excuse me. After that, then the staff gather any educational information, any conservation information, anything else that we want to be able to pass out in the CCR, along with review the requirements from the EPA to make sure that we have the proper language included in the CCR. And it is required to be in the hands of all of our water users by July 1st. Different methods we use to disseminate this information. One is we put it in the Optic, and it was placed in the Optic on May 31st. We will also have the report itself provided in bills, so every account holder gets a copy of the CCR in the bill. We also put it on the city's website. We produce pamphlets so that we can have them at multiple city locations as well as apartment complexes, community facilities, any place where there's a group of people that might gather, we go ahead and provide them the pamphlets. Travel centers and again, community organizations. So in this case, we have disseminated them all. They went out, I think the 15th of this month was the last bill that went out with the CCR in it. All the pamphlets have been provided to the facilities. It is, again, I said it's on the website, and we did put a PSA out as well with information on how to find it on the city's website. So we've met the requirements for the Environment Department, and I will be submitting either tomorrow or Monday our official form that I have to report back to the Environment Department that we have met all of our requirements for this year. Some of the information covered include the number of contaminants that we will sample for. We also define and describe our treatment process. We explain and define the word contaminants. We also provide information on lead, that being an area of question and concern from many customers. We provide a water quality table that does show all of our contaminants where there was anything reportable. So if it came back as a 0, we don't put that on the CCR. As long as there is something that can be detected, that's what's provided in the CCR. We also discuss any violations that we may have received in that year. We provide guidance for customers as well as contact numbers for any of the customers. Quick summary of the water quality table. Inside the CCR, you will get a table like this. And one of the areas that's covered is disinfection byproducts. These are contaminants that are produced by our disinfection process, which are chlorine, HAA5s, and total trihalomethanes. In all of those, we did not exceed the maximum contaminant level. The next area is inorganic contaminants. These are usually naturally occurring. Arsenic, barium, fluoride, nitrates, and selenium. Again, we did not come anywhere near the maximum contaminant level. These are types of things that come from natural deposits, fertilizers, septic tanks, petroleum, or even waste facilities. The city of Las Vegas's water is so pure. We get it from nearly the original source because of where our diversion is located. There are some impacts to it from maybe animal life, but very little impact from septic systems or from petroleum or any type of waste systems. And there's another test that we have to do every few years called the UCMR4. We've always passed it with flying colors, and we've never had to do any follow-up because our water is so good. Radioactive contaminants are also sampled for, and well below the MCLs. Lead, copper, and turbidity are also items that we sample for, and again, all well below any MCLs or action levels. We did have some violations in 2018. We have what's called a sanitary survey that's done every 3 years. And there was, the violations we received were vegetation growing at Camp Luna, a ladder access not being secured, and an air relief valve required screens. All 3 of those were corrected and addressed before the inspector ever left the facility. The fourth item was what's called an emergency response plan. The city does have an emergency action plan. It did not meet the template that was provided by the Environment Department, so we are in the process of matching our emergency response plan with the Environment Department's template. And for the future, in 2018, the American Water Infrastructure Act was passed. The two impacts, well, one impact to the city and the other one that we've been trying to work with is that they're looking at requiring 2 CCRs a year instead of 1. The Environment Department will be providing us the guidance on that probably around August of this year. So we'll be moving forward expecting to have to do 2 CCRs a year. And then the other thing is, looks like they're going to allow for electronic dispersion, submission of CCRs. It does require us to have accurate email addresses. We're trying to work with customers to get accurate email addresses. In a community like Las Vegas, that's not always possible. A lot of people don't have email addresses, so we'll continue to provide the CCR in this format until we can guarantee that the majority of customers have email addresses. Even at that point, I'm still required to ensure that all customers get a copy, so until I can guarantee 100% by email, I'll still need to provide paper copies or information in the newspaper and on the city's website. That's my presentation.
Thank you very much. Questions, comments? Councilor Howell.
So our water is safe?
Our water is safe, our water is good, our water is awesome.
Good. Thank you.
To be straightforward, the most impact that we have is in our treatment process. We have to use chlorine, and actually we create our own sodium hypochlorite, and that's where we have the biggest impact is actually in our process of treatment, and we're continuing to work on that to always minimize the impact to the water. But other kinds of contaminants, very, very minimal.
Councilor Casey.
We should all appreciate that.
We do. Go ahead.
I just want to thank you because I did get the water report and our utility bill, but this is much more information that's wonderful and easy to understand. So I want to thank you for doing that. I think it's a wonderful resource, and I do like getting the hard copy because I see something on the computer and then I can't remember what I did with it in the computer if I can't find it. So this I can hang on to. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much, Maria. You're doing an outstanding job, and you have been since we've been here, so you keep up the good work.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Maria. The next item on the agenda is the city manager's report, and as we all know, there's a big festivity that's going on in the next couple of weeks, and so I'd like to bring Angie Lister up. She will talk to you about a couple of events that are upcoming, and this will be the final regular meeting before the events.
Good evening. How are you?
Angie. I'd just like to update you. We had a meeting this morning with all the departments, and all city departments are working together to make the fiestas be a success. Included, Danielle passed out some information. The schedule on Friday, June 21st, we have the La Reina competition. We also have a Reinita competition that will be at the West Las Vegas cafeteria. And the information is there as far as ticket sales, $5 for single, and 8 years old and under are free. And then, excuse me, the La Reina ceremony will take place on Friday. And that'll be at Our Lady of Sorrows Church from 5 to 6. The procession will be from the church to the Rialto restaurant. Mariachi Cardenal will be escorting them. And the dance will be at the El Rialto patio. And then the actual festivities are going to start on Thursday. All of them will start every day at 11 o'clock and run till 11 p.m. The fire department will be having the fireworks show July 4th from 9 to 9:30. The parade will be on Saturday beginning at 9 a.m. and Zach at the library is taking applications for that. Our Grand Marshal will be Helen Rivera from El Sendero. We're going to have a rodeo this year, which is something new. We have a stock contractor coming in. He's with they have TA rodeo. So it's a circuit that people can get points that compete, and they have a chance on the junior bull riding to compete at the Junior World Finals, doing the National Finals Rodeo in Las Vegas, Nevada. So that'll be on Saturday and Sunday, starting at 12 o'clock, and it'll be until 5 o'clock. So that'll be $8 for adults and $4 for children. This year our fiestas will be less days, and so I think all the city departments are grateful for that, as well as people that travel from near and far. Any questions on the fiestas part before I move on to the event?
This is not completely finalized, correct? There's a few things that, are you still
We're
working
still
on?
working on some
Exactly.
details. There's different things that different departments still are working on. Today, they built a really beautiful little gazebo for the trailer for the reinas and donitas to ride on. There's still sound curtains to put up, a ramp. We still have a lot of work to do. We're still collecting a few vendor fees. We do have most of them in. We have all the applications in for that as well. Entertainment contracts, we have a good portion of those in as well. And Danielle has already reported them and sent them to us also.
Any other questions?
I had made a list of questions for councilor comments, but can I ask them now since we're on this topic?
Sure, go ahead, that's the best time, I think.
Okay. I wanted to know who decides on the fiesta theme? Who comes up with a fiesta theme?
This year the mayor came up with yes.
I was just wondering because to me it's kind of a religious theme rather than a, more focus on independence and that kind of thing. Okay, I have questions also on the popcorn sales. We're receiving cash for that. Is that deposited with the finance director on a daily basis, a weekly basis?
On the popcorn sales, we go through it on a daily basis because we also have other staff assisting with that. The main account for the money is going to go through you guys, so they can be responsible for it. And that's just so that it makes it easier for them to get what they need. It's a longer process for us to get this done. But yes, all that is going to go through the committee, and they're going to be managing whatever funds. And we'll keep copies of that.
Okay, so that money will be treated like petty cash?
It goes, so what used to happen in the past is the committee had a separate account, and that's how they handle the maintenance. So like, it's their way, the committee's way to be able to trace down to so they can trade.
So the popcorn sales is strictly for the reinas? Okay. And then also the advertisement for the TA rodeo says cash only. And then Bennett Carnival also gives a certain percentage of cash. Do we have the same arrangement with the rodeo people to guarantee a certain amount of money that we're supposed to get from them, or do we split it 50-50? How do we know how much money we're going to get from them?
For the rodeo, the city will collect all the gate fees, and we're designating 2 people to do that. The city manager got us some bags with locks on them, so we're going to have accountability if, because we'll have volunteers doing that, city employees that are doing that. And so they will, if it's handed off to, say, another 2 people, then they'll be checking out what is in that bag when the next people get that amount. And that money will actually cover the cost of the buckles. We did get sponsors for the buckles, Farmway Feeds, Vida Encantada, and the fire department.
And you'll have security there? If you're gonna be sitting there with bags of money?
Sitting with us, I did not think of that.
So
I know that the county sheriff will be there, but that's something that we need to think about.
Need to make sure that whoever's watching the door and gathering money is also safe from somebody that might, run through and grab a bag. And then with the carnival, last year I think we got, what, $15,000? Do we have the same contract with them this year, or how do we determine what we get from the carnival?
Mayor and Council, the carnival is the same contract as last year, so we get 19%.
19%? And who is in charge of collecting that money, or do they send us a check at the end, or how do they do that?
So what happens is at the end of the fiesta, Shailene will come with the money over to City Hall, and so we'll gather together, and we'll all count the money through several times to make sure it's correct. We'll also look over the tickets to make sure that they give us the correct amount of money as well. And then once we do that, just for usually it's a large amount, we'll usually have someone take it over to the cashier and do the price.
I just want to make sure that, nobody is placing themselves in any kind of jeopardy by, handling money alone, or, going to get money and somebody knows, oh, there goes Angie. She's going to go get the money from the carnival. Let's jump her. I don't want anything like that to happen. So I think it's really important that we make sure that there's multiple people that are there to make, kind of watch out for each other and help collect the money, count the money, and all of that. So,
And Counselor will be available as well. We have some lock boxes, lock bags that we provided, and then we have other ways to deposit the money and then have someone go in to the bank and count it out and make sure it's receipted accordingly. And Tana's taking notes, so it won't. Believe me, we'll be pretty involved in it.
I just get worried because the crowds get so huge, and there are so many people, and somebody could just easily grab a money bag and disappear into the crowd, and you're never going to find anybody there. So it's a safety issue for me. Okay, thank you so much, and I appreciate the work that you've been doing. And I think that Helen Rivera is a wonderful, wonderful choice for Grand Marshal. She does so much for the community.
She's awesome.
And she is a wonderful person, kind, warm-hearted, generous woman, and I think that's a great pick. I do have one more thing to say. Please have somebody proofread this. I went through the website that says Visit Las Vegas and went to the Fiesta portion, and there's a lot of typos. Even in the mayor's letter, there are typos in there, words that are misspelled. Some of the bands are not, it says like Darren Cordova and Carlo instead of Calor. So some of those things, please have somebody proofread it.
We will.
And fix it before the final gets out to you.
Yeah, I give them the draft, and then it's up to them to catch, because I'm usually in a hurry.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't think that you had.
I actually write it.
Yeah, I know, but I didn't think that you had made the mistakes. I figured that whoever
I'm
typed it
very
up or whatever.
careful with mistakes, so I usually catch everything, but I don't know what happened. But I do know, and no offense to anyone but the optic, prior to you, Mr. Chair, made tremendous amount of mistakes on every single letter that I gave them. Every single article was misquoted. So I'm hoping that that improves. We appreciate that. Thank you.
And mariachi cardenal, it's D-E-N-A-L in Spanish, so if that could be fixed too, that would be great.
And also, Pato Wireless is going to be setting up free Wi-Fi that'll be available for vendors, for everybody that's there. It's just a service that they want to offer for fiestas and for Las Vegas.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, thank you so much for all your hard work.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
Thank you. I want to
One other, sorry.
Thank you very much. I know you're doing an outstanding job. And I want to address Councilor Casey's concerns immediately. First of all, I want to thank you for working with me on selecting the actual title. I think I'm very, very competent, considering that a lot of my history is tied in to the city of Las Vegas, not only superficially, but I have walked the walk. And I actually have lived in the barrios. So, and I attended that church every single day as a child. So I believe that I know growing up what is expected from the church, and also what is expected from the community as a local person from here with a very large family who has been very engaged within the community. And it's interesting, one. Second of all, I also want to thank Councilor Casey for recognizing that the Grand Marshal is a great Grand Marshal, because I too select the Grand Marshal for the parades. But also in 2012, and that's interesting that this question was raised here today, I actually wrote a response and opinion to the city, which was entered in the record then, when our former mayor had changed the actual site from the Reina, which originated at Our Lady of Sorrows Church, to IC Church. I also spoke to both priests at the time, and one was upset that it was changed, and the other was upset that it was changed because he felt that the designation of Nuestra Señora de los Dolores originated in Our Lady of Sorrows and should remain. So with that, I'm going to read this into the record again, and this is the same statement that I wrote. From its very founding, Las Vegas, New Mexico, namesake of Nuestra Señora de los Dolores of Las Vegas Grandes, has paid tribute to its traditions, mores, history, and culture by celebrating the fiesta on or around the 4th of July each year. Originally, the fiesta was celebrated to thank Mother Nature and the God of the people for a planting season, which the people hoped would yield a good and healthy crop. The church name for Nuestra Señora de los Dolores, then, is not only the namesake of the Virgin, but the very founding of the community of Las Vegas, New Mexico in 1835. As a tribute to the church, and by extension the Virgin herself, the very fiesta itself would not exist were it not for its very start or genesis from the Virgin's name and the initial sponsorship by the church which bears the Virgin's name. To now change the sponsorship or venue, and this is then, is a travesty and insult to the very church itself and the very tradition of the people of Old Town Las Vegas, New Mexico. A change is to trample on the historical contributions of the very founders of Las Vegas, New Mexico. Political expediencies should not overcome a century and a half of familial and community heritage and cultural contributions. Historically, Our Lady of Sorrows has been recognized as the original Mother Catholic Church for Las Vegas, New Mexico. The current fiesta tradition would this year be marking the 124 years of fiesta held on or around the 4th of July. The tradition was that the fiesta kickoff was always initiated by a celebration of Holy Mass held at Our Lady of Sorrows Church, followed by the coronation of our Las Vegas Fiesta Reina. For the first time since 1888, this will not happen, and remember this was in 2012, as fiestas in 2012 seem to be kicking off with a parade on Wednesday the 4th, then skipping Thursday and proceeding to Friday, July the 6th, when the Fiesta Mass is to be held at Immaculate Conception Church. We have, at that year, we broke from tradition. We cannot conceive that anyone can say that this is 124th annual Fiesta de Las Vegas celebration, as a tradition has now been broken. We are not known or nor ever have been recognized as Nuestra Iglesia de la Concepción Inmaculada de Las Vegas Grandes. How easily some people, with a flick of a wrist or shrug of the shoulders, believe that they can displace our traditions without some of us at least noticing and taking exception to either real or perceived acts disintegrating and long-standing traditions. This may be passed off as doing it the way it's better for all, or this is progress. Of course, the current administration and those in charge of the fiestas, which was then again, I'll say that, this year will find some way to defend their actions. As long as I seem once again to be in the position to question, I have been asked to, by some constituents at the time, to bring up the subject of the thinking that also went into the change for the Fiesta Parade Day. Ever since my constituents, and I'm going to kind of jump forward, but I think if this is a powerful message, because at that point in time, since 1888, the tradition of the fiestas had been broken. The following year, because of the pressure, the tradition went back as it should have and should have never changed. So as far as the issue of separation of church and state, this is the way it was, and this is the way it should be. And we need, as a community, to recognize, because I see so much ugliness out there, and I see it here as well. And it's unfortunate, because we see that on a daily basis. And I thought, personally, after I spoke to all of you girls, that it was in the best interest of the community to take back the community and remind them of what we are about as a community. We are good people. We are religious people. We are loving and caring individuals. And people have forgotten that. And I'm talking not just here locally, but from the presidency down. People have so much hatred, so much animosity, so much negativity. And I think that in order to bring them back and make them realize that there is goodness in each and every one of us, you have to take them back to the origination of cuando pasaban los santos por los barrios, blessing each and every street and each and every home. And I remember my father carrying that same, and my mother behind them, and preparing food for each and every one of them. And at that point in time, I am hoping that we can re-energize that Catholicism and the fact that we are good people. We need to cleanse all the negativity out there. And that's why this year I have decided to name it Nuestra Señora, or to recognize Nuestra Señora de los Dolores de Vegas Grandes, because that was the original name prior to the church. And later, the church did step in, and we are grateful to the church. The fiestas have been celebrated there since, and we will continue to celebrate them holiday. Thank you very much. And thank you for all you do. Any other questions?
I did.
Who's first? Go ahead.
Okay, I just have a question. On the rodeo days, what have we done for insurances? It says here, not responsible for accidents.
Our human resource person, Consuelo, has talked.
I'm sorry?
Our human resource person, Consuelo, has talked with the city's insurance, and we're covered on that end, as well as the rodeo does have their own insurance as well.
And they meet the requirements of the dollar value of the insurance?
Yes.
So why do they list not responsible for accidents? That's kind of contradicting what we just talked about, so.
We'll get that question answered and get back to you.
Okay.
Councilor.
Going back, I had the same concerns as Councilor Casey on the internal controls, number one on the rodeo. So you said you've addressed that. The other part was with the Bennett, with the carnival. You mentioned about cash. Why couldn't they just write the city a check?
They, Councilor, excuse me, Madam Mayor, Councilor, they did write the city a check last year, and it was for. Yes, sir. They did write us a check.
It was check, not cash?
It was, yes.
And the other part that I had is the budget. Where do we stand budget-wise on this? Do you know?
I'll let Anna address the far as
The
budget?
total Fiesta budget is 88,000. The city contributes 25,000, and the rest is collected from vendor fees, sponsors. I think this year we had quite a bit of sponsors sponsoring some of the activities, such as the belt buckles, correct? And a few other, and of course the popcorn sales. I know a question was brought up about the popcorn sales. That one is not going to flow through the city at all. That's being handled by the Fiesta Committee for the Reinas. Am I correct, Virginia?
So are we advertising as that? But it's through the Fiesta Committee, not the City of Las Vegas?
That I'm not sure of, but I do know we will not be collecting or spending any monies for the supplies that are unique with popcorn sales. Because that money is being collected for the fiestas, for the travel, and during the year, different functions that they're asking.
The question and the reason why I asked on the budget was because there was concerns as what we're paying the, I guess the special guest, the main attraction.
Main event.
Yeah. The headliner. According to it, and I don't know if this is true or I'm just bringing it up because there's concern that we're spending between him and another person $21,000.
That may be correct. I haven't looked at the contracts. However, like I said, no city monies other than the 25,000 that we have committed at the beginning of the budget year is no other city funds have been used to fund the fiestas.
And a lot of the concern has been is the fairness in how we pay. So the fairness in how we pay the musicians. I mean, how do we choose that, or are we doing that?
Mayor, Council, we follow a previous, sorry, Council. Mayor, Council, we follow what has been done in the past. There's a scale that's created. So basically, you have like Gabriel Cerna and these younger ones and newer ones, and they're usually paid on a scale between $50 to $400. And then you have your next level, which is $400 to about $800, and then you just have your main ones, which are usually $1,500 or $2,000, depending.
And who determines
Those
that?
are usually chosen based on a scoring scale that the committee does. So Angie handed out all the books with all the entertainers. They listened to them all. They researched them. They did everything they needed to, and they scored them. And then, so they don't just go by the sound. They research them to see exactly how much, experience they have, where they've been, what awards they've won, things like that. And then that scoring system is the breakdown for how they're paid for the fiestas.
Because there's one of them in particular, and he's from up north, from Taos. To me, our local Gonzalo, I see him as just, up there with him. And we're, the differences between the two, I think that's kind of unfair.
Between which two?
Who are you talking about?
Darren Cordova and Gonzalo.
Okay, so you're saying that they should be paid the same? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, of course, that's my opinion, but
Yeah, but they rank and rate and they have an actual
Council, I can
specified
explain that.
for
So
entertainment.
it on his contract, it does say 7,500, but it includes 3 acts. So basically, he's getting paid just the same as Gonzalo. So we have Dinette, we have Darren Lee, and we have Darren Cordova. It's not just Darren Cordova. So what we did is we took the amount of all 3 and we put it into one simple contract. And the other thing is that we might have given him like $100, $200 more, something in that range. But the only reason is because people asked for him to come back, and he was one of the highly recommended to come back. He comes like maybe once every 5 to 10 years. He doesn't come very often, so when we get the chance to bring him, But I did make sure that we didn't pay him that amount for his full entire set. It does include few sets.
Okay, and then I just, I spoke, once I found out about this, I spoke to some old committee members, and of course, they're not there no more. But what I was explaining is that they would just set a fee, and if you wanted to play at Fiestas, then you would. So I'm just curious as to how we're, I mean, of course, now I know how the selection is, but I just...
Yeah, and I can't tell you exactly because that was, prior to when we came in. We basically just picked up whatever the past event planners and directors had set in place. So we just continued following the process.
And I know, we're already here, and, you guys, I think, have done a good job in planning and that. I just think, if we could look into that, for next time, the unfairness. I kind of see it as a fairness, and maybe others don't agree with me, but I do, and if we could just look into that.
Yeah, and we're always open to suggestions. So.
Thank you very much. Councilor Levi.
Yes, on the RSW cruise, how many cars are you expecting? What I know about it is that they were doing this up at
Amos.
Amos, and they kind of changed away because something happened over there, the city or something, or the county stopped them from doing it. And I talked to one of the organizations, the guys that organized this cruise, and they're talking about between 3,000 and 4,000 cars.
What the organizer told us today is that they were getting about 3,800 cars. And what happened in Amos is that the roads, because they're 2-lane and they don't have shoulders, is that it would get gridlocked. So the mayor asked him not to have that event there anymore. They had it for 10 years. And they're only expecting half of that amount of cars. Since they're changing the venue, they're not expecting that many. And they have come to check out the roads and, making sure that there's shoulders, all this other stuff to make sure that everybody's going to fit in that. And what is good about them is that they include everybody, not just people that have fixed up their cars really nice, that have a lot of money, but they said that, a kid that goes and spray paints their hood and just throws some stickers on there, they'll put that next to a Lamborghini. And they also raise, it's not funds, but they'll ask people to bring non-perishables. And they're going to choose one of the food pantries in town or organizations that's going to benefit from that, and they'll ask them to be present at the event.
Are you just opening the Plaza area for the cruise, or are you going all the way down to the bridge and maybe down on 12th Street? Or?
They had asked for it to be closed from bridge to bridge. They're only going to have the cars that I believe were staged around the plaza, but people will still be able to go, the way I understand it, around the plaza. And he also came in and looked at different parking lots and has spoken with West Las Vegas. This morning, Maria Vilvari mentioned that the utilities parking lot is also available for parking, and then there's the Valencia Street parking lot as well. So that's also why they've chosen that area, because there's parking for people that actually want to come in and just look at the vehicles.
Because that's a lot of vehicles that's coming. So I know that you guys will be ready, because there's quite a bit of vehicles. What I'm looking at is just.
And they're going to leave. What they did indicate was that they're going to leave all of Bridge Street open. They're not going to interfere with any of the businesses at all. They're really not even having food vendors at all. They're going to allow people to go to the regular vendors, the pizza place and some of these other places, but they don't want to interfere at all with any of their days. They'll be here from 12, I believe, to 12 p.m. at lunchtime to 6 p.m. and then it'll be done probably sooner. And I think I heard that there may be 300 to 400 cars, if at all. They all congregate at the Santa Ana, apparently, and that's where they're looking at 3,000 cars to be present. But they won't all come. Apparently, they all like to go and check the cars, and then they go off. And so, but this is the first time that we would host an
Well, it's a
event.
good
of this.
event. It's a good event. So I'm just wondering, space,
Right.
how congested it's going to be.
And Las Vegas will actually get a lot of media attention for this. In fact, that will be starting, now they have some interviews that after today's meeting, they're going ahead and setting those up on the local TV stations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have a follow-up question,
Going
Councilor.
back to the fiestas and the budget, where do we stand? I know you said 88,000. Where do we stand on what we've kind of expended right now? Or
Right now, well, most of the expenditures will occur after the beginning of the year. So currently, there haven't been any fiscal year 2020 expenditures other than a retained one check is all that's been issued, and that's to advance to the headliner. And there was adequate funding left over from last year's to address that.
And I might add that we've been looking at the fiestas, and I guess at some point we should have some type of a meeting to see just what it costs us to run the fiestas.
Well, if I, let me interrupt you.
But
Historically, since I've been here,
Yes.
it has run between 80,000 to 130,000 a year, and that's the last
It
10
does.
years.
so within that 88,000, does that include the
80,
fireworks show and all that?
80. Oh, yeah. Everything.
Well, no, the fireworks is a
Oh,
separate,
does
no, it doesn't.
Okay, I thought that,
That's a
within that
20.
number, I thought, okay, within the, this is my understanding, within the 80 to 125 to 130,000,
Then it
was
would
always
include
my
the fireworks.
understanding that they did include the
did.
firework display, everything was included.
Everything is included, but we have, we charge, we have a specific line item for fireworks.
Of
and
course,
it-
yeah.
And it doesn't go into the fiesta, into the fiesta fund. It's separated out by a fireworks, just a line item called fireworks display. Overtime, there would be no way that we could meet the overtimes for any of the departments, because we have several departments, and we all know that. So it's a little bit costly.
But then, if you look at the GRT, the lodger's tax, and the revenue that it brings into the city, plus the recognition, I think it's worth it.
Well, it
And it has been,
it
obviously.
helps our vendors and our community. Our
Mhm,
business
exactly.
owners look forward to it. And a lot of the rooms are sold out on an annual basis. By now, they've already made their reservations for next year. And so that brings in GRTs and revenues.
Exactly. Okay, any other questions? Thank you very much. That's a great presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members. Thank you, Angie. The next item on the agenda is Dominic Chavez, and we had an asphalt zipper demonstration that Councilor Howell was at, and
Was this the same one
Counselor
that
Casey.
we requested with the audit?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, we're still there.
And so Dominic,
Counselor Howell.
we asked Dominic to go ahead and do just a short analysis, and it's just a summary that he'll present to you as far as what we, what we estimated it would cost us to get the zipper, the asphalt zipper that we had talked about, and then maybe something more economical, am I correct?
Yes,
But
ma'am.
I'll turn it over to Dominic.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Last week, we had the opportunity to view the demonstration of that zipper, the asphalt zipper AZ360 on 8th and Washington, and it was a demonstration, that's for sure. And so, Madam Manager asked me to put together just a small analysis of the cost of that, as well as 2 or 3 other items that could possibly do the same work for us in reference to pothole patching. So I did so, and of course in that packet that you just received, I've included the asphalt zipper with the equipment that is attached to it, which is pretty significant. But also I put together with the help of Danny Bourdelet and Rebecca Martinez from Public Works, we put together some costs that because of the size of that zipper, we might need other equipment to make it useful for the city, if you would. And some of that equipment would be, well, just to start off with, it's for bigger projects, is my understanding, not just for pothole patching. And so, other equipment that was thought that would be needed would be a tractor trailer with a belly dump at a cost of $200,000, a lay-down machine at a cost of approximately $100,000, a tack trailer, the material per day, and that's going to be material and fuel. It's going to be cost for us going up and down the highway to Santa Fe to pick up the asphalt because we don't have a distributor here, and then employees. So total estimated roughly, very roughly, on that 445.2. That's for the zipper. And I think it's still in the back.
I think it
Or did it finally?
it left.
The second piece of equipment, and forgive me because I'm not familiar with all this equipment. Danny really helped me out with
Well,
this.
we can have Daniel join him if there's questions, because you're the expert. Sorry, no disrespect.
No, not at all, not at all. He really helped me out. So that second piece of equipment, and of course this is in black and white, but Danny pointed out that this was, as it says, an all-in-one pothole patcher. And so it's got not only the holding area for the asphalt, but it's got jackhammer, a tamper, what's the
It has
tack?
the tack machine
The
as
tack
well.
machine.
This vehicle right here, we did have a demonstration on it, I want to say 6 months or to 8 months ago, where it's all in one, where we go ahead and get the material. We could go ahead and put this material into the back end of this thing. And if we don't finish using this material, we could go ahead and go to the back, put it into the shop, plug it in. The next day it'll be ready to use again. It'll warm itself up. It has augers in it that'll mix the material, and we could go ahead and use the material again. But it does have everything on it, which is a jackhammer to square off the hole. It does have a tamper to tamper when you tamp. It does have the tack, we could tack it, and then we do have the skid tamper, we could go ahead and tamp it down. And this one is only going to utilize maybe 2 employees, maybe 3 at the most, but you could go ahead and use the machine, go around, start fixing all the potholes like that. And that machine there is I think it was $190,000, $200,000 is that machine.
Is this the FP5?
Yeah, it's a
Flameless?
flameless model. So basically this machine right here, I think it's going to hold like 5 to 10 tons of material in there. Not, but we did get a demonstration. We'll need a CDL driver and another employee to go ahead and they'll take care of it.
And then, of course, the third item, or the third piece of equipment that we discussed was the Bobcat with the zipper type attachment, which the City of Las Vegas Gas Department does have already on hand. So that's something that can also be demonstrated at a lower cost. And I guess we'll have to share it with them and make sure that they're not doing any work at the same time. But
And basically the zipper that we did have, this is just a machine to go ahead and zip the asphalt out. If you have a small pothole, it's just going to make it bigger. That's the only thing about it. Yeah, same with this one with the Bobcat, you're going to have it, it's going to make a bigger pothole. So if we have small potholes, which this machine right here, we could square them off, tack it and stuff, and use less material. These other machines are made, if you're doing bigger projects, say the water department needs to cut a line to run, they'll cut the asphalt, a nice square cut run and stuff like that. They could reuse the material once they lay their pipe in. They could put it, tamp the base and stuff, and then use the material for temporary till they could get asphalt and stuff. So basically, the zipper and stuff on us, our part, it'll just make the hole bigger. And it's gonna need more employees just because we need to tear apart the hole, make it bigger, whatever, and then we have to get rid of the stuff, we'll have to tamp it, and then we'll add material. So the material is used a lot more.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Councilor Romero.
So on this all-in-one pothole patcher, does that also have like the compressor to blow out the hole and all that?
It has a compressor because the tap gets stuck in the hose, or it gets stuck inside the hose. So you could reverse it, it'll go back into a tank, and it'll be ready for the next time you turn it on to warm it up, and it'll come out, and then every time you use it, you use tap, and it'll clean its hose as well, and it'll blow out. And like I told, you guys need a demonstration on this, I could go ahead and probably set it up with the vendor. It's a pretty neat machine.
Can I give you a couple locations too?
Yeah.
Okay. Councilor Casey.
Thank you. I was at the zipper demonstration and I was very disappointed in the machine. It doesn't even move on its own. You have to have a front end loader to shove it to where you want it and rearrange it and move it all over the place, which takes a long time. And then that's all it does is just tears up the street and that's it. And then the men have to do the rest of the work. So to me, it was a lot of money for a whole lot of nothing. And so I'm glad that I went to the demonstration so I could see for myself how it works and what it does and doesn't do.
I am glad you went to the demonstration. I agree, totally. With everything you're saying.
And so it was like, too much. But we really do need to have something to help our guys fix the streets. I mean, we have thousands of potholes, and it's an impossible job, and I feel really badly for the street department and everybody that helps them fill those potholes, because it's really, it's a never-ending thing, and you could work out there 24/7 all year long, and you're still not going to get every pothole. So we really do need to see if we can focus on something that we can get for them. If it's the flameless pothole patcher, if it can do the work and really help the guys, then I think $200,000 is well spent for that. If we can manage that somehow, I think.
Well, I'd like to, with that said, I'd like to see if we can, first of all, you'd have to set up a demonstration. Like you said, I would suggest you do that as quickly as possible and determine what it is that the need is, and then I will have Anne Marie put together a legislative bill request because we have the reversion of funds that are up and coming now July 1, I believe. So within those reversions, I can speak to the legislators and personally see if we can acquire the funding that we need for that zipper. I think that's awesome. But whatever you guys determine, I'm not the expert. That is not my field of expertise, but I'm pretty good at securing some funds.
If I may, Madam Mayor?
Yes, of course.
It would also be wonderful if we could get the local producers of asphalt to produce asphalt that is
Standard.
up to the standards that are required to fill the streets, so that we don't have to drive all the way to Santa Fe to pick up asphalt and then bring it over here. And when we did do the demonstration of the zipper, we had to wait for the asphalt to arrive before we could do anything. And so that's also a waste of time and energy for the person that has to drive all the way to Santa Fe, bring it back in the truck.
Because the material that they're using in Santa Fe is a lot better. It doesn't break apart. I mean, it has the right mixture of oil and stuff.
Well, see, let me intervene on that. One of the concerns we've had with locals is that they did not meet the standard. So when the state inspected it, it didn't pass inspection. We cannot go ahead and compromise the PSI of the concrete for the sake of trying to give local business. It's up to local businesses to get their act together and increase the standard so we can continue to work with them again, as we have in the past. But we cannot go ahead and put substandard concrete in there. It doesn't meet, what is it, the 320 PSI? Is it 320 or 360?
I don't, I'll have to get back to you.
Okay.
They go by temperature.
Yeah, I know. I think it's 320 or 320 PSI is usually what's recommended, okay? So the bottom line is that we must meet that. And then in addition to that, it must pass state standard. And we don't have that here locally, and I agree with you. But I think in addition to that, and this is just my recommendation, is there any way that we can get one of the mixers and mix our own and have it tested for PSI? Because those meet the standard as well.
And we don't have the oil and stuff like that. We have to get it from a vendor and kind of get the gravel. I mean, there's a lot.
Well, just something, food for thought. I'm just making a recommendation.
That's what I was
Because I
thinking.
agree
that
with
if-
having to go out to Santa Fe or anywhere. It's ridiculous. So is there any other solution to the problem where the city can themselves mix it through mixer? Because they used to years ago. And they met the quality of the PSI. And that would pass state standard. But it's just food for thought.
Well, there's just, those are different
But I
ideas that we
agree.
can explore.
And, you know, I was thinking more in line of negotiating with the people that do produce the asphalt locally to bring it up to standard so that we can do business locally instead of having to go to Santa Fe. You know, that, I don't know if it would incur too much of an expense for them and that's why they don't do it or what the reason is, but
Like the DOT does have their specs and the
Yeah,
asphalt
exactly,
has a shelf life of 10 years, I think, is what
Right.
the contract requires. So we have to make sure what the asphalt we do get is gonna last that time.
Exactly.
yeah, we don't want to fill a pothole and have it fall apart
Well, that's what was
3 weeks
happening.
later.
Yeah, so I mean, we gotta meet those DOT specs as far as
Right.
making the road, the longevity of it.
And just to finish up on my comments, the woman that lives right at the corner where the zipper did, you know, and you filled that street, she's thrilled. She said, my street, she says, I've lived here for 35 years and this street has been the same all that time. I'm so happy that you're fixing it.
Torn apart.
The repair work,
Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah, she was very happy with it.
Let me go to Counselor. Are you
I just had a comment too.
Okay, go ahead, make your
I
comment.
just wanted, how many demonstrations can we get?
That's a good one.
It's almost half a block.
Let's keep going. Okay, Counselor Howell, I believe you're next.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
Which community has the flameless?
This was I'm not too sure if it's coming out of Colorado or where, no. I don't know if they even have one in the state. I've never really.
Do you know
maybe
where,
Santa Fe.
which state has it?
I get to look into that.
Okay.
I think they might have it in Santa Fe because it's just made just for potholes. That machine is just made for potholes, where you could go ahead and save the material if you're not finished with it today, so you could take your time and actually get some of the way supposed to.
So is the company phone number on here?
I could get all that for you.
Yeah.
I have
Because I just wanted to see what they, which community has this and see how they feel about it. My comment is we don't want to treat our community as a third world community. Okay, we wanted to make sure our roads, particularly that's what we're talking about, are in real good condition. And whatever it's going to take to get those roads in good condition, we need to have in our resource here. And if it costs $400,000, if it costs $91,000, whatever the cost is going to be, and whichever one piece of equipment is the right one, and after we do a lot of research on this, we need to work with the legislators, like you said, Mayor, to really get the money to do this. I mean, let's not treat our community, you know, as, oh, we can't afford that, or there's too much labor and cost to do this. Whatever it takes to make this road the proper way.
I don't believe we're treating them like third world country, Counselor Howell. I think what's happened, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that because we had a freezing cold winter.
Yeah.
Okay, we could not go out there and repair the roads during the time that we have cold weather like that. So all we can do is kind of fill it out with sand and dirt. We can't put the oil in there. We can't put the usual process that we follow. But we have to, for a certain, a certain temperature before we can go out there. And if we repaired it, Counselor Howell, then essentially within what, a week, the hole's there
Yeah, the water
again.
has a lot to do with the moisture, the water getting underneath.
Exactly. You can't, you've got to tamp it down, you've got to pour the
We
oil.
always will have.
And you've got to seal it.
We'll always have weather, but if we don't have the equipment when the weather is good, we can't do anything.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm talking about. We need the proper equipment on hand.
Yeah, but regardless, the temperature has to be right.
Well, I know that, Mayor. It's just that we don't have the equipment, even when the temperature is right.
Yeah, but in the winters, when this winter it was really cold, Counselor, I'm not going to try to argue.
No, I'm
I
not
know what was
arguing.
out
It's
there.
not an
We went
argument.
out there, we looked at those streets, we saw the workers out there
Right.
working hard.
I'm just saying that we just need the proper equipment.
And we will move
Within
forward with
our-
doing what we can. We will? Okay.
Yeah. I just,
Absolutely.
yeah, I
I
don't
know
think
that-
they're saying that.
I know, Daniel, that nobody here in town makes any of the asphalt. Nobody. So that's how come we can go to Santa Fe. And this is a good machine. If you go into our website, they'll give you a,
Yeah, there's demonstrations on the website as far as.
But
the
you're talking
asphalt,
about the, which one now?
The flameless.
The flameless? Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
And the zippers, it's a good machine, but we don't have the machines to move the material.
Yeah,
We need,
exactly.
that machine right there, it needs a lot of trucks just to move the material. You get 25 tons of asphalt, it's not gonna do very far. So that's why you see them on the highways where they have truck after truck going just to meet the needs of the machine. If you get the zipper with the lay down machine and stuff, we don't have, I mean, we have to buy a bunch of trucks just to move it. We have a lot of little small 5-yard trucks and a little few 10-yarders, but that's almost nothing. That'll just get us from wall to wall, maybe.
that's not gonna do the job. Something like this will do the job because, you know, it's made for that. And you don't need too much manpower for this.
Yeah, the manpower is cut.
Well, I would like to see a demonstration on this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. One more question.
Just a comment, I know, the investments might seem a lot at 200,000, but I guarantee you if we look at the maintenance bills within the PD, fire department, and all these other ones, I think that offset would take place long-term.
You know, Counselor, I agree with you in a lot of respects, and I agree with everybody here. But I think that we need to find the right piece of equipment for the city. The zipper is not the right piece.
No, I think
It was,
this-
I know, we know that, we agree. The zipper was never the right piece, and that was such a bad move on the city at the time. But we've corrected that. But possibly this flameless would work better, and I think that yes, the city is willing either through NMFA, get a match, and I'm definitely willing to aggressively seek the funding for that as well. I think that's the right move, and we're headed in the right direction.
We'll be glad to move.
And thank you, Daniel, thank you both for your presentation here today.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Set up the demonstration. Thank you.
Couple of final items under city manager's report is that community development did submit our CDBG grant. Actually, we submitted it early. We were the first ones in the state. I hope that gives us a few points. And that is for the Hot Springs Boulevard project, and that would be for $750,000. So now we just wait and see how we rank and see if we can get it funded. So we're hoping that we can get it funded. It was a beautiful document that several people took part in, and so I want to thank the staff because they did an outstanding job with it.
And we met the deadline, but did others meet the deadline?
I don't know, but we did.
Yeah.
By 4 days.
Yeah, because as long as we get it in on a deadline, they don't penalize you on the ranking and rating process. So they pretty much treat them all the same.
The deadline is tomorrow.
The deadline.
So let's see how many get it.
And then one final thing is at the recreation center, we're housing 150 kids for day camp.
Awesome.
And so that has been the enrollment so far, and she's probably picked up a few others. We were able to send over quite a few youth to help out with the day camp itself. And so if you go down to the library or any of the parks, they're playing with them, they're running, they're doing all kinds of things, they're providing lunch for them. And so if you see anything, especially at the library on Wednesdays, please go down there. It's a beautiful view. It just to see kids all over the park. And it's just a really happy event. It is nice to see. And that concludes my city manager's report. The next is Ms. Hannah Vega with our finance report.
Good evening, Ms. Vega.
Good evening,
How are
Madam
you?
Mayor, members of the council. We have the revenue report for the month ended May 31st, which 11 months of our fiscal year, representing a 92%. Total revenues for the general fund, $10,847,659. Total expenditures, $9,891,534. for an increase in net cash of $956,126. One of the reasons being some of the vacancies, just being careful with expenditures, making sure expenditures are just necessary and that they are reasonable. The enterprise funds, total revenues, which are on the accrual basis at $15,521,877. Total actual cash expenditures are at $14,151,099. Recreation Center, total cash including total revenues including the transfer coming in from the general fund, $541,044. Actual expenditures, $525,883 for an increase in cash of $15,000, net cash of $15,161. And for any questions?
Okay, well, the expenditure report looks spot on. We're slightly a little over.
Right.
We're slightly a little over, but we're closing at the end of the month.
Yes.
So you're going to meet that. That looks very good.
Yes.
I did see, which is good possibly, I'm sure, is the enterprise fund comparison or the expenditures, which is low, but that's a good sign. Okay. And the recreation is under, of course. How are we doing with the recreation?
Recreation is doing very well as far as revenues. Along with that there was a decrease in salaries because we were funding the community services director, which was being shared with 3 other funds. In addition to that, like I stated before, expenditures only are occurring if they're necessary and are reasonable.
Okay.
And with the new renovations, we've had less repairs and with the pool and the chemicals and all of that. In prior years, there was a lot of chemicals that were having to be used to maintain the pool.
Well, just looking and perusing through the report, I want to thank you for monitoring the actual expenditure and keeping them under budget. That's very important, especially the rec or cash elephant, or should I say our elephant. Okay, any other questions, comments?
Can I ask somebody to please close the blind? I'm gonna...
I guess I moved over more and more over here. Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Vega.
Thank you.
Are they closed already?
A poster board or something up there. Somebody could find some.
We'll get something for them.
I feel like I'm in the spotlight.
Oh, you are.
Enjoy it.
No, I'll live.
The next item. The next item is the consent agenda items. Madam Mayor, members of the council.
Okay, what is the pleasure of the board? Councilor Casey.
I move that we approve the consent agenda items as presented and that they be read into the record proper by the clerk.
Thank you very much. Do it. Okay, go ahead.
Consent item 1, approval of resolution number 19-27, assigning official representatives and signatory authority for the SAP 19-D2520-GF grant agreement with the State of New Mexico Environment Department. Consent item 2, approval to reject request for bids number 2019-11 for the Valley and Chavez Street gas line replacement.
Thank you very much. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilor Romero?
Yes.
Councilor Yulabri Jr.?
Yes.
Councilor Casey?
Yes.
Councilor Howell?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Casey and a second by Councilor Howell and Councilor Yulabri Jr. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Let's continue.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next item is going on to business items. The first item is the approval, disapproval of Resolution 19-17. Chief Bibb.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, honorable councilors. When you entrusted me to the position of my office, one of the first things that we collectively agreed on was we needed to clean out our parking lot. So it was with that motivation that I took a look at our inventory and...
You're going to have to get near me, Barbara.
I'll go in this other direction.
Okay, I'm sorry. We're joking.
So the vehicles we're looking to give to the Highlands University Police Department are 3 Crown Victorias that are over 100,000 miles, and then the van, which is a 1996. And they're just in a position to where it would cost more than what the vehicles are worth to be good police cars. However, Highlands University can use them in the capacity of going building to building, you know, and doing what they do.
Okay, thank you. I have a question. What is the depreciation value on those vehicles? Ms. Gagos? 0? Okay. Questions, comments? Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Mayor,
Councilor Howell.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 19-17 to transfer vehicles to New Mexico Highlands University Police and Security Department.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Yulabri Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Howell and a second by Counselor Casey. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Second item on the agenda, Madam Mayor, members of the council, is approval, disapproval of resolution number 19-26, and we have Mr. Billy Montoya.
Good evening again.
Good evening.
How are you doing?
Council, Madam Manager. So what I bring forth tonight are the closing documents for the loan that we discussed in March for the fire apparatus. This fire apparatus will replace the 1997 unit that we had discussed last year. The New Mexico Finance Authority has put together all of the documents. We've gone through Sutton Law Firm. Our legal has looked at it. Ms. Tana and our manager have overlooked all of the items, and these are just the closing documents for the loan that we applied for in March.
Okay.
The amount for that loan will be $219,196. The total for the fire truck is going to be $403,677. We have already set $188,000 of state fire funds and grant funds towards that. So our loan amount will be $219,196. With that, I'll entertain any questions.
How much of this did we get from the legislature?
None. From the legislature is another, that's the stacking apparatus that we'll be moving forward with once this one.
Because that got approved, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we need to encumber those funds to resolution?
We're just going to work on the funding through New Mexico Finance Authority for the second apparatus.
Okay.
The other one, we're waiting for the closing loan documents.
Okay.
And then we'll bring it back to Mayor and Council.
Correct. Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Councilor Casey.
How much money do we owe on loans?
Okay, could you explain the debt service to me?
Well, I know that we owed last year 22 million for everything together, and we have our debt service scheduled to the year 2035 or something like that. So I'm just wondering, you know, can we really afford this 219,000, and where is that money now?
The funding for to pay off this loan is the state fire marshal.
That's going to be the state fire
protection.
Okay,
So
state
the
fire
protection
protection
monies that are
fund.
awarded to the city
It's
of
a
Las
grant.
Vegas are really based
And that's the only, no city monies will be used to pay off this loan.
And the intercept for the loan payment is going to occur on an annual basis at the beginning of the fiscal year.
Okay.
Which means they automatically draft it out of the grant before we receive the monies. And it's deposited within MFA.
That is very good to know. That State Fire Protection Fund is an awesome thing. It really is. It funds a lot of wonderful necessary items.
Yes.
My second question is on page 162, according to my computer. It's I think it's the final page of the loan agreement. And it says, I, Cassandra Frescas, the duly qualified and acting city clerk of the city of Las Vegas, New Mexico, do hereby certify. And it states that all of the following pages are true, perfect, complete, blah, blah, blah. The proceedings were duly had and taken as shown therein, and the meeting was held and the persons named were present at said meeting, and so on. And then notice of said meeting was given in compliance with the permitted methods of giving notice of regular meetings. Well, Cassandra's not here.
Okay, I'm going to
So-
defer that to the city attorney to
Yes,
discuss this.
I would like to know that because if she's not here and she's on administrative leave, you know, can there be somebody else's name there as the acting deputy clerk, or how does that work?
We have a city clerk, Cassandra Frescas. We also have a deputy city clerk. The deputy city clerk signs for the city clerk.
Okay, so should it not say I, Danielle Sena, as deputy city clerk? Because she is here to witness all of that. Because to me, this is not being truthful. And so I'm concerned on a legal document like this, it should accurately reflect who is signing and what the position of that person
Okay,
is.
let me respond to that. I actually posed that question to the attorney, another attorney, an outside attorney, and he said that it would be best to leave it there until the council we made a final determination on that position.
We have made a final determination on that
Well,
position. You're the one who refuses to
And
accept
it
that.
is within my authority, absolutely, and it's consistent with the charter law. Please read your response. But anyway, that's another issue. So that was actually advice that was given to us, and that's why it's left. Initially, that was my recommendation, the same recommendation. But if there's an issue of liability to the city in the future, then it was recommended that the name remain.
And who is the attorney that you spoke to?
I actually spoke to Mr. Quinones, whom I'm sure you're familiar with. Okay, so we want to make sure that we do everything that benefits and is in the best interest of the city at this point in time in order to protect the city interests. So that's why it's that way. But you can get a legal opinion if you wish. Okay.
I think Councilor O'Mara has a question.
Yes.
Okay, I understand on certain forms that we've adopted in the past, where at the end it just says by, but I think the main line within this where it says in witness whereof, you know, I think that's I mean, I don't know if that's the concerning part that you have, but that's the one that, as a matter of fact, I had one on another one where Councilor Casey said no, you know, she is filling in for Cassandra, but I think in this form itself where it says in witness whereof, I have hereunto, and that's the question that I have is, and then I think Madam Mayor, Carlos Quinones is an attorney paid by the city for the mayor in defense of our suit that we presented, and that's important, it's paid by the city.
Well, if we want to go back, we spent $80,000 on a special audit by the governing body, and maybe that should be looked into as well with regards to collecting that $80,000 back to the city coffers. That was taxpayers' money. And the only reason that I'm having to defend myself is because you too didn't follow the process. We went through the consensus. You did not get that consensus for approval. And therefore, you did it on your own, so then I have to defend myself. And it's not so much myself, I'm defending the charter.
Madam Mayor, you asked me to do it myself, so I did it myself to you. And
Well,
I
because
mean,
you
that'll be
did
settled, that'll
not
be
get the
settled. but-
approval in the meeting as consistent with resolution.
Actually,
Counselor.
we did.
No, you didn't. You have to have the full consensus of the governing body, which includes the mayor. You had 2 individuals who voted against it. So that is not a full consensus. Read your resolution.
Against it?
Your consensus.
I voted for it. With me.
Well, Counselor Ready, and I have as a governing body member, read the resolution, the right to vote on that as well. Okay. So essentially, look at the job description, I would suggest. And I'm pretty certain that that's already been looked into to ensure that our deputy, our intern here, has the authority to do that as well. But I'm sure she does. It's within the job description.
Madam Mayor, I'll ask our city
Yes, of
legal
course.
counsel, I'm not going to listen to your attorney. I'll ask our city legal counsel.
Well, no, my attorney's
you-
different. You're going to have to report on
What's
it.
your opinion?
My opinion is that the city clerk is attesting to the signature of the mayor. I believe that what we are doing and what I recommend we do is that our deputy city clerk signs off on it, Cassandra Frescas, and she puts her initials. She has the authority to do that.
And I'm going off of your recommendation. Thank you.
Okay.
I trust you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Okay, let's continue. What is the pleasure of the board? We're number 2?
Yes, ma'am.
What is the pleasure of the board? Counselor Hopper.
Yeah, just one question before I do that. Madam Attorney, so you're saying that it's legal to do what we're going to do with having Ms. Senna sign off on it?
Yes, that's been the practice,
For the
and that's
record.
my recommendation. She has the authority as deputy city clerk to sign off.
For the record, that's what you're saying?
Yes.
It's on the record.
One final question. on
Yes, Counselor,
that.
please.
So she would sign Cassandra Frescas by Danielle Senna?
Correct.
Deputy, okay.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 19-26 for the approval of the loan agreement and closing documents between the City of Las Vegas, New Mexico, and New Mexico Finance Authority that was initiated during the March 20th, 2019 council meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Yulubri Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Howell and a second by Counselor Yulubri Jr. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you
Council.
very much.
Appreciate it.
The third item on the agenda is approval, disapproval of resolution number 19-31. And we have Mr. Danny Gurley.
Madam Mayor, members of council. I'm here to seek the approval of Resolution 1931, assuring the matching funds for the MAP, which we did receive $190,000 from the state. Our match is $63,000, and it's going to be for the second phase of Mountain View. So it's for the plan, design, construction of the roadway. I stand for any questions.
Okay, questions, comments? Counselor Casey.
Okay, my question is both on item 3 as it relates to item 4. Item 3 is requesting, is saying that we have the funding to meet the $63,000 match.
Yeah, I'm asking for.
But then item 4 says basically that we don't have the money and we want to participate in the waiver program that the state has. So how does that work?
The way if
Emery,
we don't
could you
have the
help?
money for it, I'm going to go ahead and seek the approval because the first phase we did acquire all the funds from the DOT, which is the $274,000. They did give us a match waiver. And at the end of the year, we have to be on our S5, I think. It has to show a zero balance. So that's the way we work to go ahead and apply for the match waiver on this.
And
I
we,
think it's less five.
we're prepared to pay out the 63, match the funds of up to $63,389. But we can in fact apply for a waiver, and they may award it to us. They may award the waiver to us and not have, and we would get fully funded for the project. So we're saying, yes, we do have the 63,000. However, we do have an opportunity to apply for the match waiver, which we've done on all the projects.
And a match waiver is a first come, first served
Yes.
on this.
Okay.
That's why I did bring it to council right away.
So that if the state has monies left over after everybody makes their request for everything, then if they have that money, then we qualify for it because we have already put the paperwork in.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
And this will go for, I think,
The
one
co-op
other
as well.
project, is a
Yeah,
co-op
yeah.
project as well. And so we're ready to put in the matching funds if need be. But if we can be awarded the match waiver, then we would apply for it.
Okay. Makes sense now. Thank you.
Any other questions? If I can, just something that I noticed here, if we could update the contact list with the DOT, because they have Chris Cavazos here and he hasn't been here.
Oh, I know, we did address that, and this is Clarissa from Santa Fe, and John did send her with my name on it, but she went back, I guess, with Cavazos. I'll have to
We
look
will.
into it.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? What's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Mayor.
Counselor Howell?
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 19-31, assuring the availability of matching funds amount being $253,556,000, states $190,167,000, city share is $63,389, which is 25% of the total cost of phase 2.
Okay, so have a second.
Yes.
Roll call.
Thank you.
Counselor
You
Romero?
got it.
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Yulabri Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Howell and a second by Counselor Yulabri Jr. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council.
When you call about Chris Cavazos, tell them to spell your name right, because they spelled it G-U-R-L-E without the
Gurley, yeah.
U. Yeah.
I saw that
Gurley.
Item number 4, approval, disapproval of resolution number 19-32. Danny?
I'm here to seek the approval of resolution 1932, which is the match waiver for the MAP, which is the DOT will fund the full program, the full monies. And I stand for any questions on this as well.
Okay, that's been explained. What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam Mayor, I move approval of, what is it, resolution
1932?
1932? I don't know, it's stretched out on my computer, so I can't see it.
Do you want to use mine? Can you read it into the record?
Okay. I move that we approve resolution 1932 for receiving proportional matching funds in the amount of $63,389.
Thank you very much. Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Yulabri Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey and a second by Counselor Yulabri Jr. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next item is approval, disapproval of resolution number 19-33. Yes, Danny's with you.
I'm here to seek the approval of resolution 1933, which is the co-op, which we did receive 38,000 from the state, and our match would be 12,700. And this is for the third phase of the West National King Street project.
I think the reason we didn't change it is because
I stand for any questions.
we didn't want to go back for all the signatures. Questions, comments?
Madam Mayor,
Counselor Matt?
make a motion to approve resolution 1933.
No questions? Okay. Do you have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Yulabri Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero and a second by Counselor Howell. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
The next item is approval, disapproval of resolution number 19-34. Mr. Danny Guglia.
I'm here to seek the approval of Resolution 1934, which is the match waiver for the co-op, which is the full funds of $51,053.
Okay, questions, comments? What's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Mayor, I move approval of Resolution 1934 for the hardship match money for $12,763.
Okay, do you have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Yulabri Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey and a second by Counselor Howell. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carried.
The final item on the agenda is the approval, disapproval of resolution number 19-36. Danny Guglia.
I'm here to seek
Good night, Danny.
to seek the approval of Resolution 1936. It was the acceptance of the capital outlay grant in the amount of $652,214, which is going to be for the plan design construction of Romero Street and Salazar Street from Grant to West National. And this was lobbied by Councilor Olivetti.
Questions, comments?
Yeah.
Counselor, you ready?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Mayor, I just want to thank Daniel and IDECO lobby this past legislature for these two streets. These streets have been neglected since I've been there. And I think, I don't know if you, Council Casey or Mr. Romero, how I could counsel how to check those streets out. They've been like this forever and ever. I want to thank Senator Campos and Representative Salazar approved this money for those two streets. And I want to thank the city and the mayor and everybody, the council, for helping us take care of that west side. Thank you.
Question? What's the pleasure of the board?
Thank you.
Counselor Romero.
Yeah, you should do it because that's your ward.
Approval of resolution 1936.
No, he already called for the floor.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve Resolution 1936.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Roll call. He got the first second. Roll call.
Counselor Yulabri Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero and a second by Counselor Howell. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carried.
Okay.
That really is so badly needed.
The next
Okay,
item on the
Counselor's
agenda.
report.
I'm sorry,
Then we start with Counselor Romero, but you said you all reported, correct? All your concerns?
No, I still have mine. I still have mine.
Oh, I was hoping that was the case.
I only did 2 and I have 8.
I have within the meeting.
Okay, so you're okay? Counselor Romero's okay. Okay, let's move on. Let me go to Counselor Olivari. I'm gonna jump around.
Madam Mayor, I'm Salazar,
Romero's okay.
right away at Salazar, from Socorro Road, no, from Tecolote, all the way to Grand Street, right away at Salazar, the roads are pretty high, and we could get some land down there. I know we're working potholes for the good job you guys are doing on potholes. That's it, thank you.
We're also working on, I believe you and I took a little tour, we're also working on some of those vehicles that we had seen on Grand Street.
Oh, okay.
We've got community development working on those and we'll start working on projects on that area.
Now, there's some concerns on that, some of those items that we have.
Okay, Counselor Casey.
Thank you. I have some also code enforcement issues. I did get one complaint that I emailed to you, and that was on 8th and Williamson with the drainage problem. And then also I had a call this afternoon about mattresses, old couches, and other trash that is serving as a nice nesting area for skunks. And that's in the alley between 3rd and 4th Streets. And also, there are abandoned cars that are parked on Washington Street between 4th and 6th. And people are upset because those cars, apparently the piece of property there is quite large, and it has space for people to park in their own driveway, but they're parking these old junkers and taking up parking spaces that should be available for other people to use. So they were very concerned about that. Also, I wanted to know if the senior citizen vacancies have been filled. No?
No, ma'am. We have one position that should be starting on Monday. Otherwise, the paperwork is getting in on time, HR is doing their part, but when it comes down to the employee or the prospect actually being hired, they either do not pass the screenings, they decide to get a different job, whatever the situation might be, so then we have to re-advertise and continue the process. So it's been a long, lengthy process. I'm hoping the one person starts Monday. It's been about 6 months since we've had the employee. It's been really difficult.
Okay, thank you. I was concerned about that. And then the others are, I think we've all received letters from Samaritan House, the Chamber of Commerce, and the Hermit's Peak Watershed Alliance. All are requesting partnerships with the city. I know Samaritan House would like to get $30,000 for next year instead of the $20,000 that they got this year. And as you know, they had their money stolen, and it really set them back quite a bit. The Chamber of Commerce did not specifically ask for money, but they're asking that we collaborate with them and support them in their reestablishment of the chamber. And the Hermit's Peak Watershed Alliance needs, I believe it was $45,000 to complete the work that they're doing on phase 2 of the Gallinas Riverwalk. So if we could maybe take a look at the budget a little closely and see if we can squeeze out some of that money for those. They're all wonderful endeavors, and they do provide services to the city and the citizens, and so I think we should take those into consideration.
Actually, if you recall, Councilor Casey, Samaritan was funded this year, and for the $20,000, and I spoke to one of the members. So we discussed that already.
Okay.
Now, the other thing, with regards to the Chamber of Commerce, they have not asked us for money, that I'm aware of.
No, they haven't.
But I have been working with them and collaborating with them. As a matter of fact, I met with 2 of the members already. I'm hoping that they do invite me to the next meeting that they have, because I have not been invited. So it's hard for me to attempt to collaborate with people when you're not invited to the party. So that's not working. Okay. And so essentially, that's on them. Then the Hermit's Peak, we've already given them money, correct?
We did fund, the state legislature did
Yeah,
fund the
and
first
I
step.
lobbied for that at what, 70,000?
I believe so.
They did get 70,000, but they would like
and then we did
to get something from the city, because they're not counting the 70,000 as a city donation, they're counting it as a legislative donation.
Yeah, we understand that, but we also had set aside money for them in addition.
Okay.
What was it, 20?
20,000.
Because the county has to come up with the other 20.
Okay. And then on the Highlands campus, and I know that there are several streets around town where there is a question as to who the street belongs to. Is it city? Is it, a particular entity that owns the street? West National from 8th Street to 12th Street is in really bad shape. And people who drive into Las Vegas from the second exit sometimes end up on West National, and that street is really an embarrassment and not a good example of, our city. It sets a bad example. And so I'm wondering if the street belongs to Highlands. Is there any way that we might be able to get the street fixed and share the cost, or work something out with them so that that street doesn't look so bad? And just for your knowledge, is no one has asked me to do this for them, okay? So the president didn't call me up and
I'm not
say
saying
anything or anything,
I have no, it's just more.
I'm just saying that I drive that street every day, and it's in really bad shape.
I believe that the street there within that section is the responsibility of Highlands University, correct? And they get funding for it, and I think they have a contractor on board, Mark Dominguez, who pretty much does, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, who does pretty much all the work for them, so.
Okay.
And they do get funding for that.
Okay, because I have a foundation board meeting at Highlands in a couple of weeks, so I can ask about that.
And it's good that we just answer each other.
Yeah, okay. And then my final comment is on the police department. I think I want to thank them for all the work that they do. They've had a really rough last few days with the homicide, and I know that every day they go out and they're in the line of danger, and they go out and they never know what it is that they're going to meet up with. And I just want to thank them for the work that they do. I think they're awesome. I have talked to a lot of the police officers just on a personal level about their kids and things like that. Nothing, serious, but I've gotten to know some of the officers, and I respect them and have a great deal of esteem for them. And I'm very proud that they are part of our city police department. And please be sure that you impart to them my thanks, my personal thanks to them. And to you and Deputy Chief also, thank you so much for your service. I really appreciate everything you do.
Thank you, Mel. I'll pass that
And
on.
I have to chime in on that one. What a breath of fresh air. You have been, as our deputy is to the police department, you have demonstrated incredible leadership and mentorship to those young officers, and I could not thank you enough, and everyone sees it out there. And they are happy, and I see that happening too. Their performance is just amazing, and yes, of course, we want to keep them safe. But I think that the leadership and mentorship from the two incredible individuals is clearly demonstrated. So thank you very much, and thank the officers. And on another note, Councilor, but follow up on this one, the policy for the parking, I believe, is 3 parking vehicles per resident, legally. But check that policy and see if, and they have the right. But don't they have to be able to run the policy? They have to be able to.
Apparently they don't.
And if they don't, then that's an issue. Okay, other questions?
Thank you, Mayor.
Councilor Howell. I forgot.
Okay, I'll be quick. This is to the Public Works Manager and also City Manager. It's a street sign, Calle Alegre. Somebody took that sign, I guess, or it fell off during the high winds. It needs to see if we can get it placed on there.
Okay.
Please, Calle Alegre. The Chamber of Commerce, I'm speaking with the board also, and they're having a tough time setting up a meeting at Pandaray, like I spoke to you about.
Oh, okay. But they're having a tough time.
Right, they're having a tough time because it's a busy season.
Gotcha.
And, so what they would like to do is they would like to come here, either to your office or to the council chambers, to meet with you.
Absolutely.
And if you would
I already
me.
said that to them. They just have to call and set up the meeting with Desiree.
Okay, so we can do that.
Schedule her in.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay.
Also, last one, the golf course task force is headed by a person named Bill
Garcia.
Bill Garcia.
I know Bill very well.
Yeah, they're wanting to meet with you. And,
We scheduled that for the week.
Did you? Oh,
Absolutely.
wonderful, thank you. Yeah, good. And did President Minner call you?
Yes, their office called. He didn't call personally, but their office called.
Yeah. Good.
So we're good to go.
All right, good, thank you.
Thank you.
One more last thing. This is to Virginia and Angie. I think looking at the schedule for the fiestas, I think we're going to have a great fiestas. And thank you for all your hard work that you've put it together. I think it's going to be a great one. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
One more
Councilor Olivari.
question. The Macario sign that's towed down on Mills Avenue. I think that's a very good lot. And I don't know about the mowing on that, all that area, but the lot seems to be.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much. Okay. There we go, moving right along. Do we have need for executive session? Okay. I need a motion to adjourn.
Madam Mayor, I move that we adjourn.
Counselor Barron?
Easy.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Yulubri Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey and a second by Counselor Yulubri Jr. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Feel good to go?
I know, yeah.
Meeting adjourned.